you looking to get more clients onto the cloud and more clients onto Xero? If so, then you've come to the right place. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone from wherever you're joining in the world. And welcome to this webinar, Convincing Clients to Switch to the Cloud. My name is Daniel Hustler, and I look after education here at Xero for the Asia region. Now, in terms of my background is in accounting systems. It's also in sales as well. So I do have a sales background where I used to sell and onboard businesses onto the Xero platform. And in my current role, I deliver demos and do lots of presentations to people to showcase Xero's value and make sure that they understand how to use it and love our products. Now, the purpose of this webinar today is to give you some tips and tricks that I've learned that you might want to try to get more clients onto the cloud, ultimately get more clients coming through your door, and ultimately growing your practice. We do also have a handy takeaway guide. So this covers some of the things we'll be talking about today. My colleague Gracie will post a link to that in the chat box very soon. Alternatively, feel free to pull out your phone, scan that QR code, and we'll also send you through that takeaway guide in the chat box. So what's on the agenda for today? Over the next 45 minutes, we're going to cover some tips and tricks that you could use to get more clients onto the cloud and just get them over the line. Now, this will include how you position the cloud in your client's mind, so that way they understand the value. The second is that you'll learn how to demo Xero like a pro. In my career, I've performed demos to quite possibly hundreds of thousands of people. So I'll share a few tips and tricks in this space, which you can use to get your client over the line. They do say an image speaks 1,000 words. I would say a demo speaks 1,000,000 words, and it can be a really, really effective tool to have in your pocket. And finally, how to handle some of the common questions and objections that we see. I do like to customize my sessions according to what the audience are interested in. So I'm going to launch a quick poll. I'm keen to understand what you're most interested in hearing about today. It is multiple choice. Are you most interested in learning about how to position Xero in the cloud so the client understands the benefits? Do you want to deliver an effective product demo? Do you want to know how to handle some of those common questions and objections? But if there's something else, put it in the Q&A box and I'll do my best to answer it throughout this webinar at some stage. So if there's anything you're particularly interested in, feel free to leave it in that Q&A box. Now, I'll just leave that running for a couple more seconds. I'll end it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'll end that poll. I'll share the results. And it looks like we've got quite an even split. So roughly 40% want to know how to position Xero and its benefits. More than half want to know how to deliver an effective product demo, and close to 60% are really keen to understand some ways on how to handle those objections and questions. And we do have an answer in the Q&A, which is around improving the ability and understanding of Xero and the benefits. So don't worry, we will cover that in the webinar as well. So thank you. Now, positioning the cloud. Positioning a product or service is ultimately about deciding how you want your target market to think about that product or service. In this case, it's how do you want Xero to sit in the minds of your clients? Do they understand the value? And you might even want to think about how you position yourself in the minds of your clients as an advisor. And when you're positioning, say, for example, Xero, there are a few things to keep in mind. The first is to know your audience. Who are you looking to move to the cloud, or who are you speaking to? You should also know the benefits and the value that you can bring to the table with Xero. And on top of that, you do need to know how to communicate that value effectively. And it's really important not to ignore any of these considerations. For example, you might know the value and benefit that Xero can bring, but if you can't communicate it in a way that your client will understand and see that value, then you might not actually end up with the result that you want. Ultimately, positioning Xero and your practice correctly could be the difference between moving clients to the cloud and getting new clients versus not moving clients at all. There is no one correct way for this, but I'll share a few tips and ideas in this space which you might want to consider. So the first point was around the audience. Now, if you are new to moving clients to the cloud, then you may want to consider starting with clients that are enthusiastic about online solutions. Those clients are already using a wealth of technology in their day-to-day lives, so generally speaking, they're probably going to be easier to switch. New businesses are also great because they don't have legacy software built in, so that way they can start fresh. Ultimately, consider the timing and events that are taking place as well. Are they in the middle of a very busy tax period? Or maybe are they in time of an expansion where they need real-time financials, in which case that might be a really great opportunity. Even those businesses which are looking to maybe retire soon and sell their business, moving them onto the cloud could be a good opportunity because that gives them real-time financials to sell their business at a higher price. Consider the right industry for you as well. You might have a wealth of sole trader clients. You might be familiar with the apps in those industries. Generally, those clients won't be super complex. So in that case, you can set them up with the right tools from the get-go, rather than having to investigate a whole lot of apps that you might not be familiar with. And again, if you are new to this, pilot with a small number of clients and refine your process over time. Start with those easier clients before you move on to those more complex ones. The second point we saw was the benefits, knowing those benefits. And this is important because the benefits to you as an advisor may not necessarily be the same to a business owner. For example, while one of the benefits that I absolutely love is powerful report customization, a business owner may not necessarily resonate with that. So instead, focus on the benefits that resonate with them and consider bringing those into the conversation. Now, what I've found in my experience is that a lot of business owners and clients tend to resonate with some of the following. So business visibility, being able to get clarity over their business and where they're at. This is especially true for those businesses that currently don't have that visibility and are currently managing their business based on what they see in their bank statement. Collaboration, never underestimate the value that you can bring as an advisor and how much your clients value that if you can collaborate together through the cloud. Getting paid faster. Cash flow is top of mind for clients. We know many clients are struggling with cash flow, especially at the moment with those rising costs. So if you tell your clients that there is a way to help them get paid faster, improve their cash flow, then you've already got them hooked. And for a lot of clients, that's probably going to resonate much more than, say, for example, powerful report customization. Saving time. People want to spend less time on admin and more time on doing the things that they love, whether that be spending time with their friends and their family, or maybe just developing a really great product or service for their own customers. And also staying compliant. I'm sure no one wants a letter from the local tax authority telling them that they've been uncompliant. So if they're on the cloud and you can work with them closely together, then this is a really easy way to solve this. So have these benefits ready in your pocket. There are some benefits as well. And when talking to the benefit, when talking to your clients about the benefits, consider maybe using 3 of these and see how it works for you. 3 is a very magic number, and it's memorable in the human mind. So I'm going to ask a question. Can I get it? If you have heard of the rule of 3 before, the rule of 3, if you've heard of that, then can you click the raise hand link in the Zoom toolbar? So if you've heard of the rule of 3, so it looks like a very small number of us have heard of the rule of 3. Basically, it's a persuasive technique used by public speakers, writers, and even politicians. As humans, we remember in 3s. So if you speak in 3s, then it's going to be much more memorable for the audience. Not 2, not 4, but 3. For example, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Government of the people, by the people, for the people. Location, location, location. Stop, look, and listen. Friends, Roman, countrymen. These are all used in 3s. These are examples of the rule of 3, and it becomes very memorable in the human's mind. But knowing the audience and knowing the value is one thing. Being able to communicate it is just as important, if not more important. You might have the greatest product or service in the world, but if you don't communicate it in a way where the audience will understand, then it's going to be a whole lot more difficult to get the outcome that you desire. So again, there's no one way to get this right, but I'll share a few tips and ideas that you might want to consider in your client conversations and see how it goes. Some of these you might be aware of, some of these you might not be aware of. The first is to ask open-ended questions. Things like, what are your pain points? What are your goals? Where are you spending most of your time? What is holding you back? You can get a large list of open-ended questions from the likes of ChatGPT. Now, this will help your client do most of the talking. From there, you can understand their pain points and understand what type of benefits you might want to highlight. Again, it's helpful because you will understand those pain points. One of the questions that I asked at a business owner at an event recently was, what is keeping you awake late? What is keeping you up late at night? And what they said is they spent all of their evenings sending out invoices in Microsoft Word, and they're struggling to keep on top of payments. Now, the reality is if they were aware of, let's say, for example, the ability to send invoices through Xero and the ability to accept those online payments, that would have removed that whole pain point. And they were much more receptive when they saw that Xero had this particular ability to do that. I would also say avoid complex jargon where possible. As we know, a lot of clients don't understand accounting jargon and terminology. Things like accounts receivable, accounts payable, statement of comprehensive income. If you add a lot of confusing terminology, it's probably going to take away the message the underlying message that you ultimately want to convey. But of course, it does depend on who you're speaking to as well. If you're speaking to a financial controller, they'll probably want you to speak their language. Also, consider the setting. Is it a meeting that you've set up with them to discuss their business goals? Or are you just passing by their office and you say, hey, switch to the cloud? And when you're in the conversations, take note of their pain points and their needs, because that's going to be very helpful for when you want to talk about the benefits or even when you want to perform a demo. And finally, really important here, it's not a sales pitch. Pitching a software can sometimes come across as impersonal. So one idea would be to set up a meeting to understand their pain points and goals. But again, this just depends on your relationship with them. And sometimes Xero might not be the best option for them. And if that's the case, that's perfectly fine. Ultimately, it's all about what is best for the client, which again may not always necessarily be Xero, and that's perfectly fine. Now, after we've had those conversations with a client, we might even want to consider bringing in a product demo. A demo is a very powerful tool to have in your pocket. As I mentioned earlier, they say a picture speaks 1,000 words, and I would say a demo speaks 1,000,000 words because it allows your audience to see the benefits that they receive with their own eyes. Now, again, I like to keep my sessions fairly interactive, so I'm going to launch a second poll. You should see it appear on your screen shortly, and don't worry, it's completely anonymous. How much do you agree with this statement? I am confident in running an effective product demo. Do you strongly agree with this statement? Do you somewhat agree with this statement? Do you somewhat disagree with this statement? Or do you strongly disagree with this statement? So we've got a lot of answers flowing through. I'll just give a few more seconds to answer that. And I'll end that poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'll just go ahead and share those results. So it looks like about 12% of us strongly agree. More than half of us somewhat disagree. So somewhat agree. And then the rest are about 30% are falling in either somewhat disagree or strongly disagree. Thanks for those answers. So in my role, it's basically to perform product demos, right? So I've done product demos to hundreds of thousands of people, and it's very, very powerful because it really showcases the value that a product or service can bring, and it can make people want to use it. So no matter what spectrum, what area you're falling in on that poll, hopefully I can bring in a few tips and tricks for you in this space. Now, before we do jump into the demo, in the earlier conversations with your clients, you may have found a number of pain points or goals that they're working towards, especially if you're asking those open-ended questions. Maybe you're already familiar with what their goals are. And you can use these insights to create what is known as a client needs analysis. In this case, let's assume I've had a conversation with a client, and these were some of the things that I noted. The client has no idea how their business is performing. They feel like they're flying blind. They struggle to get paid on time. They spend too much time chasing invoices. They have paper bills piling up on their dining room table, and they're not sure if any of their retail shops are profitable. This information is gold for my product demo because I know exactly what I need to show to wow them and get them excited about the product. With that in mind, I would also, let's take a look at the time we're running. With that in mind, actually, I would love a couple of suggestions from the crowd, actually. So in the Q&A box, I would love to hear what features you would consider demoing in the demo. What features would you demo based on this client needs analysis? So can I get a few ideas from the Q&A box? What features would you demo? Xero analysis report, direct payments, HubDoc and online payments, tracking reports. These are all fantastic answers. P&L, absolutely. So these are all some really great features that you can highlight in your demos depending on what your client needs are. So with that in mind, I'll actually jump into Xero and take a look at how I would demo this based on that information we have at hand. When doing this demo, I'll assume that I'm the accountant and I'll present back to you as if you are the client. A few things to note here is that I'll use a workflow which illustrates how they use Xero day to day. And what you'll see is that I'll continue to refer back to the benefits, the value, and how it addresses their pain points. So we'll get started with this demo. And again, I'll assume that you are the client. The first screen that you're going to land on when you log into Xero is going to be the dashboard. And the dashboard is designed to give you a quick snapshot of your business the moment that you log in. So that way you have all that information at your hand. I can see how much money is in my bank account. So that way I don't need to log into internet banking in order to figure that out. I can see the total cash in and cash out graph, because we do understand that for businesses, cash flow is king. We do understand as well that sometimes you might not know where you're spending your money. So you can also add any accounts you want to add through to the account watch list. Moving further below, we have the invoices owed to you graph. So rather than spending your mornings trying to figure out who owes you money and chasing those payments, I can see that information the moment that I log in, and that way I can get paid faster. Further down below, we also have the bills you need to pay graph. So again, we'll be able to see all of the bills that we need to pay, so that way they're not piling up on that dining room table. Now, we do understand as well that you spend a lot of time sending those sales invoices. So let's take a look at how you raise and follow up on sales invoices in Xero. The sales overview screen is designed to give you a snapshot of the status of all of your invoices. We can see what's in draft. We can see what's awaiting payment. We can see what's overdue. Likewise, a list of the customers that owe us the most money. So again, this is already giving us some great insight around who we need to follow up on to get paid faster, and we don't have to spend all our evenings searching through trying to figure this out. And if we want to raise an invoice, it's really easy. In this case, I just need to select the who, which will be Bayside Club. I can also see how much they currently owe. Maybe we might want to follow up with them on those unpaid invoices before we send another. The due dates have auto-populated for us, as well as the invoice number. Now, we know you spend a lot of time chasing those unpaid invoices, so why not add a big Pay Now button to the top of your invoices, which your customers can click to pay you. Now, rather than spending all of my time typing up the same detail in Microsoft Word, I can simply set up an item that I've set up. I can preview how the invoice will appear both in the web and the mobile version. I can go ahead and email this off. The email template will auto-populate for me. And what that means is I don't need to continually draft up an email over and over again. I can send this off, and look how quick and easy that was compared to maybe the current process that we're using of sending those invoices through Microsoft Word. But of course, we do also understand that we want to follow up on those unpaid invoices. So in this case, we're going to choose to turn on the friendly little robots in Xero called invoice reminders. Now, in this particular case, I'm going to choose to automatically email a customer whenever an invoice is 7 days overdue, 14 days overdue, 21 days overdue. Or maybe I might want to send them a friendly little reminder when an invoice is due in 3 days. Not only is this going to help me get paid faster, not only is this going to save time, but it's also going to avoid those awkward follow-up conversations which none of us like to have. Now, in order to remove those paper bills piling up on the dining room table, we can check out the purchases overview screen. This has a full list of all of the bills that we need to pay. And if we want to get these bills into Xero, it's actually very easy. Every single organization in Xero has their own unique bills email address. If we were to forward a bill through to this email address, then it will be automatically created in Xero, as we can see here with this forwarded bill. Now, after we've approved those bills, maybe we might want to schedule to pay a number of these bills. say, for example, on the 20th of the following month. So that way, on December the 20th, we know exactly how much money we need in the bank in order to pay those bills. So that way we won't feel like we're flying blind. Now, we also understand as well that we really want to get oversight over how your business is performing. And part of that is through a bank reconciliation, which we'll take a look at now. Now, as a business owner, you might not be familiar with what a bank reconciliation is. So let me explain. On the left-hand side, we have all of those bank transactions that happen in your bank account. So your actual physical bank account. And on the right-hand side, we need to say what it is for. For example, is it for sales? Is it for maybe some expenses? Is it for power? Is it for rent, etc., etc.? So let's take a look at how it works. We can see further down below that we have a statement line for Cooper Street Bakery. The who in this case is for Cooper Street Bakery. The account code, which is what we spent it on, was for a staff lunch, so entertainment. And I'll just say staff lunch. And this is what is going to give us insight about our business and on our financial reports. But if I scroll further down below, you will be able to see that we have another Cooper Street Bakery line. Xero has remembered the details from last time. It's auto-populated that information for us. All we have to do is click OK, and that's going to update our financial reports, which you'll see in a moment, and also give you the type of visibility that you may be wanting. On top of that, since we're both working on the cloud, if you're not comfortable with this process, I can even do that for you. So that way we can make sure you've got the up-to-date financials and can make those better decisions. So let's take a look at those financial reports. The first report that I want to show is the profit and loss report. Now, the profit and loss report is a very useful report. At the moment, I understand you don't have this type of insight currently. But to provide some context, this report is designed to give you a quick snapshot of how much, what your income is, where your expenses are going, and what you've got left over, which is your net profit or loss. But with a few minor tweaks, we can get some really great insight about your business. One example is the percentage of trading income. So this will help you to identify where your costs are high relative to your income. For example, I can see that for every dollar in sales, about 17% will be on motor vehicle expenses. So this is the type of insight you may not have had before. You also have, I know that there are multiple stores as well that are being operated. So if you want to see which stores are profitable, then that's very easy. You'll actually be able to get that side-by-side comparison, simply listed here. So again, you'll be able to see which of your stores are profitable and which are not. Now, one other report that I thought I would show is going to be the age receivables report. Again, understand that quite a bit of time is being spent chasing those unpaid invoices. And this report is helpful because it's going to show what is owed to us and who owes us money. A very helpful report. But with a few minor changes, we can get some really great extra value. In this case, I'll add the phone, the primary person, the mobile column, email, and I'll click update. So at a glance, we'll have all the contact details that we need to follow up on those unpaid invoices. We know who to contact in the business. We know the person name. We know their phone. They know their email. Everything that we need to get paid faster is listed right here. And on top of that, it's going to save us time around searching through your contact details, trying to figure this information out. So that's it. in the space of, I would say, about 12 minutes, performed a very highly effective demo, which continually refers back to the value that the client will receive. Now, this particular demo is something that I've done many times before. It usually gets a lot of high ratings. So I thought I'd just share a few other tips for you when performing a demo. Again, entirely up to you if you want to use these or not, but these are just some ideas to see if it works for you. The first is to consider the relationship between you and your client. What is your relationship with them? Again, don't make it a sales pitch, but consider the relationship. I would also suggest to use the demo company. Every single user on Xero has access to their own demo company. It's pre-populated with fictitious data, so use it where possible. Also, customize the demo to suit your client needs. Ideally, show them features that solve their pain points and features that they will use. For example, if they're not someone that is financially savvy or doesn't do a lot of complex reporting, then don't show them complex reporting. Don't show them things that will make us as accountants excited. Just show them something basic like a profit and loss, how it gives them insight, and maybe that percentage of trading income. If they don't use multi-currency, then we don't need to show that either. Value. Continually highlight the value that they receive and how it makes things better for them. Use analogies like I did, which was, as an example, by using Xero and chasing those unpaid and having that invoices owed to me graph, I don't need to spend my morning searching through different folders on my computer trying to figure it out. Those are tasks which they are already doing. So continually highlighting the value will really resonate with them. Also, workflows work well. In this demo, we went from the dashboard through to invoicing, through to bills, to bank rec, and then through to reporting. A workflow works really well because it shows how they will use it day to day and in a way that makes sense. So that way it doesn't feel disjointed. And finally, it's not a sales pitch. Ultimately, we're focused on whether or not Xero will be beneficial to our client. We don't want to force something on them which they are not comfortable with. We just want to highlight the benefits. So what I've actually usually found is that off the back of a highly effective demo, quite often you will see a client's face light up in excitement. Sometimes, though, they may have some questions and also some objections, which is, again, perfectly fine as well and perfectly reasonable if they're making a switch on their systems. But I do like to keep, again, my sessions interactive, and I like to customize it to my audience. I will cover off a few objections and ideas that I sometimes speak to accountants about, but if you have anything that you want to know about, then can you let me know in the Q&A box? What type of objections do you sometimes get? Let me know in that Q&A box, and I'll try my best to answer those questions along the way. So, not making enough money at the moment, yes. Employee onboarding, unstable internet connections, absolutely. Price, can't justify the cost. The competition, yes. Clients who don't trust the cloud, that's one as well. So, Gracie, if you could just leave these questions open, I'll try to answer these along the way. I have got three objections listed, and I'll talk through these ones first. And hopefully this should answer some of them. The first is competition. Here are a few ideas and suggestions in this space. The first is to avoid feature battles. Don't start comparing one product to another. Instead, focus on the value that Xero can bring and the value that you can bring as an advisor when you're both working on the cloud. Quite often, this particular objection can be addressed through the demo, where they actually see the value that they receive. If you start comparing features, one product versus another, it ends up in a spiral of taking away the underlying message you want to push, which is the value. Focus on the time savings as well and how doing things in the cloud is much more simple. This one pops up. It's popped up a few times in the Q&A box, which is cost. Individual circumstances ultimately depend how you address this. So many of our accounting and bookkeeping partners have adopted value-based pricing and flat fee pricing that lets them bundle the costs of Xero into their service. That way, the client has one bill to manage, which includes their Xero software, and the cost isn't an issue. But if you are passing the cost directly to your clients, then address this by going back to the value they receive. As consumers, when we look at a product or service, there are probably a couple of questions we ask ourselves. The first is, can we afford it? Some clients won't be able to afford it, and that's perfectly fine. But if we can afford it, then we ask, is the value I receive worth the money we spend? So if you can show the value that they receive very clearly through the conversations and through the demo, then cost often doesn't become an issue. If you can wow them, show them those amazing features and show them how it will make a difference in their life, then you'll sometimes be surprised at how cost doesn't always become an issue. Show how it resolves those pain points and communicate the value that not just Xero, but you as an advisor can bring to the table when you're both working on the cloud. Again, focus on the time savings as well. They're probably spending a lot of time and costs on manual tasks. So if you focus on how Xero can free up that time by automating those manual tasks, then that in itself is actually a lot of value. Another area which is sometimes overlooked is making sure that they're on the right plan that will deliver them the best return on investment. Sometimes clients aren't put on the right plan, which will deliver them the most value. And the third one is difficulty. So I'm on my current system. I don't know how to use the new system. So just reassure the clients. Tell them that you'll be with them every single step of the way, that you'll support them through their journey. If you're doing this with multiple clients at once, a really good way to support them is just even through Zoom webinars. At Xero, we use Zoom webinars to scale our training across our accounting partners and our small business clients in bulk. So maybe this is even an opportunity for you, but definitely reassure your clients they highly value you as their trusted advisor. Showcase to them the Xero resources available as well. Show them Xero Central, show them the courses that are available. Show them how they can get help and support if needed. And again, just highlight the value and benefits that they receive. If you can showcase the value and the benefits and how it fixes their pain points through those conversations, through the demo, then already they're probably quite often more likely wanting to switch anyway. Fearful of change, again, that's a great one. I'm just looking at the Q&A box. Some customers are scared of change, completely understandable. Again, just highlight the benefit. One is HubDoc is difficult to use, can't sort out documents easily. Again, for that one, reassure them, support them, show them the resources that are available. Clients who don't trust the cloud. So if a client doesn't trust the cloud, so thank you, Courtney, for your question. There are a few suggestions here. One you could say is that Xero, for example, adheres to the strongest security standards. We are ISO compliant. Some of the biggest banks in the regions trust Xero. They connect with us. Xero is a publicly listed company on the Australian Securities Exchange. And of course, we use cloud day to day anyway in our day-to-day lives. So internet banking, Facebook, all of these tools that they're probably using anyway is already on the cloud. We have covered quite a lot. There are just a few other things I'd want to tick off. So just to recap what we discussed, we spoke about positioning the cloud and your service. In here, there were 3 key considerations to be aware of. The first was to know your audience, to know the benefits that can bring those audience, because again, the benefits for us, an advisor, may not necessarily resonate with a business owner. And the third was being able to communicate those benefits really effectively. We also took a look at how to demo Xero like a pro. Maybe give this a try yourself. Just a couple of tips in this space include avoiding complex jargon, continually referring back to the benefit, and also using a workflow is a really good idea as well. Demos are also great for training clients in bulk across Zoom. And I do know that some partners actually use demos as a way to get new clients through the door. And also we took a look at some suggestions to handle some client questions. Don't forget about the benefits that you receive as part of the Xero partner program as well. Promote your practice on the Xero Advisor Directory. This is available to bronze partners and above. It's a great way to grow your client base, help you get new clients, and again, it's available to bronze partners and above. Continue to upskill yourself with our free education content. And I would also suggest, if you're wanting to grow your firm, take the time to connect your account manager. They're dedicated to helping your practice grow and thrive. So speak to them about what other partner program benefits are available. Now, if you're not on the partner program already, but you're an accountant or bookkeeper in practice, then I will also post a link to the partner program in the chat box. So I've posted it now. Before we wrap up with some final thoughts, let me level you with this quote. No plan and no action will lead to no results. What steps can you take to help clients realize the benefit of the cloud? Is it about bringing in some tips around product positioning? Is it trying out a product demo? Or is it taking note of some of those key ideas around objection and question handling that we discussed in this webinar? That actually does bring us to the end of the webinar. I'm going to take a look to see if there are any unanswered questions. But if you do have any more questions, please continue to put them in that Q&A box, and I'll do my best to answer them. So one of them is how to call to action to ask client to join. So Eunice, it sounds like, how should I begin the conversation around a move to the cloud? There is no right or wrong way. Ultimately, it depends on your relationship with your client. But sales pitches, depending on your client, can sometimes seem impersonable. So maybe one idea that I have off the top of my head is maybe even just set up a meeting to discuss their business goals, their pain points. And from there, you can see whether or not a switch to the cloud might be helpful for them. And thank you, Rowena. That was really, really nice comment. We absolutely love to hear that you thought this webinar was engaging. Clients who have unstable internet connections, that looks like that was, what's the word, an objection. Oh, that's definitely a tough objection. I guess for unstable internet connection, it will be very much around, do they is the value that they receive worth that unstable internet connection? Or maybe if they've got, let's say, for example, hotspot or something like that, which will allow them to continue to use Xero. There's all sorts of technology available out there, including portable Wi-Fi connections, portable internet connections that customers can use to try and get better internet connections. But I think everything has been answered. Thank you all for listening to that. I really, really appreciate it. Again, register for more webinars, and we'll see you at another one in the future. And please let us know what you thought in that feedback survey as well. But again, thank you everyone for listening, and we look forward to seeing you at another webinar in the future. Take care, everyone. Bye.